So he's saying it's the hardest task. You must know anything. So if there's anything you have to know. So it isn't even like he's telling you, you got to know this. He's saying, I mean, if you have to know anything, let it be this. Know that the hardest job, the hardest assignment, the hardest work is to live only once. And it's a different kind of thing from what we typically hear. Have I asked you guys already? What's the most important moment of your life? Have I asked you that?
No.
Oh my goodness, it's a big question. Yeah, what's the most important moment of your life? All of these things have something. Do you see the patterns? Yeah. What's the pattern? First, yeah, there's lots of firsts on there. But look at the way that the lists are divided up.
Death and war, beginning and
Kind of. When does all this stuff happen?
at the beginning.
Beginning.
You turn your first like couple of years.
Yeah, first heartbreak when you're 3. Right?
First job.
She took my cookie.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be easier if we look at this. What do all these things have in common?
They're towards the middle or end.
I don't like that last part.
So when does this happen? Relative to you, right now.
When I
God, I hope
die.
not. First diploma, and then you die. This happens at the very end of life. Last thing you knew. First skydiving.
First heartbreak.
Towards the, I guess, the middle somewhere.
Forget about that. All these things, when did these things happen relative to these things? How about relative to your life right now? How many of you have died? Good.
I've died so many times.
How many of you have discovered what you want to do? Okay, you actually know what it is.
I got like a good idea.
How many of you have had your first heartbreak? You don't have to raise your hand, but maybe you've already had it, maybe you haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
First skydiving, first graduation. So when are all of these things going to happen?
Later on in life.
In the future. Don't miss this, guys. This is all in the future. This is all in the past. But then both lists have a lot in common.
Like first heartbreak.
When do they not happen? Anyway, what's that?
Married? No,
It's not happening in this moment. So if you're looking at it, everything here is stuff that you've already done. It's all in the past. So, and everything that's over here is stuff that you're going to do someday. Hopefully. But none of this exists yet. All of this only exists in one place, which is imagination. You're imagining what it's going to be. Most of you probably will die, I imagine. Imagine most of you will probably die. Many of you will never discover what you want to do, because you'll never put your mind to it. You'll choose from a list of available options, but that's very different from deciding what it is that you want to do, or discovering what you want to do. Some of you most of you will have a first heartbreak. Some of you have already had it, so that's why it's on both sides. Some of you have a first skydiving. Has anybody gone skydiving yet? Okay, so that's probably in the future. And most of you will probably never go skydiving. Some of you will not graduate. Some of you will not get a first diploma. Some of you will not get married. Most of you probably will. Just like most of you will get your first diploma. Most of you will graduate. Some of you may have your first child. Some of you may have a first divorce. As you go through this list, everything those is in the future. It only exists in your imagination. It hasn't happened. It may or may not happen. So all of this is essentially about hope, or imagine. Hopefully, we're not hoping for a first divorce. You get the idea. But in the sense that it's in the future and it hasn't happened yet, we're just kind of conceiving of it. That's all it is. Now you have a past, and just like this thing that's in your imagination isn't real, any more than like if you were to imagine right now a big 1 mile wide cookie, you can imagine it, and then you can imagine yourself eating a whole mile of cookie, but you can't actually do it in real life. It's only in your imagination. So it's not real. The only way that this becomes real is if you actually do it, and then you kind of shuffle it away into this file, which is the past. And then these are the things that you have done. But then again, these things only exist in one place also, which is in your memory. They're not in the world right now. And so now it starts to become a very difficult thing. Which would you trade? Well, actually, if you could only have one, which would it be? An imaginary future, which may or may not materialize, or a past that you actually have done? Things that you actually have accomplished. Lots of people are going to do all kinds of things, but most people, well, I guess everybody does things, but how deep this list is, a deep list is very rare. I guess I could say that. So then, if this is in the memory, and this isn't real, in the sense that it's not in the world, and if this is in the future, if it's in your imagination, in which sense it's not real, then what is real? Well, the only thing that's real is this moment right now. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, because this is the thing that you're doing right now, which will be shuffled over here at some point. So what does that mean? And importantly, what it means is that whatever you're doing right now is the most important moment of your life. It's the most important thing in your life. Now think of it and go, no, it's not. Well, then what is the most important thing in your life? Whatever is happening at home. That's not happening at home for you, though, right now. It's in your imagination. You're conceptualizing what's happening there. But if it was the most, but you're not living it. It's in your memory, it's in your mind, but it's not real in your life in that same sense. Now that can be discouraging for a lot of us, because that means that the only real moment of your life, the most important moment of your life, is you sitting right here in this classroom right now. And many of us would think, like, that's not where I want to be. It's not about where you want to be. It isn't even about where you came from, even at home right now. It's about where you are right now. Because this is the thing that's real. And this is the thing that will make this, which used to be real. And maybe you can, again, do some things that will shuffle this into this. But this is the only thing that's real right now. So what does that therefore mean? And that means that, how do you make the most meaningful life possible? You maximize the moment. You maximize the moment. Oftentimes we say things like, you only live once, and live every day like it's your last. Yeah, whatever. How do you do that? How do you do that? Because that's a formula for destroying this thing over here. If you live every moment like it's your last, if you live your life like you were perpetually under this idea that an asteroid was headed for the Earth and was going to wipe us out in 1 hour, think about how you would live. This wouldn't matter, so you wouldn't do anything to set this up. But you're going to be in that future at some point. You're going to get there probably, unless this happens before it happens for most people. But by and large, you're going to end up in this future. The question is what's going to be there for you. So there's this tender balancing act between maximizing this moment and then also still, though, preparing for this next one. And I think what you're going to find is that you're really not at odds. Because it isn't about maximizing this moment like in a hedonistic sense of like just, sex, drugs, and rock and roll because tomorrow we die. Instead, it's making the most of the moment where you are. If you're in a classroom, how do you make the most of it? Well, you're here anyway. You might as well learn something. You have to be here anyway. One of the worst things would be that if you walked out of a classroom every day having gotten nothing out of it, having been no better now than you were 2 hours ago. Because that's not how you build something better here. And if you do that, you're probably not even building anything back here. Like if I were to ask you guys on Monday, what did you do on Monday in this class? Be specific. Some of you could probably say. Some of you would probably be like, I was on my phone. What were you looking at? What were you doing on there? Just talking, just stuff. So there's no real memory there. And there's nothing that was built into a future there either. Which means that this thing right here was a waste. And that's how you make a wasted life. You add up a whole bunch of these that mean nothing, a whole bunch of wasted these, and eventually you have a wasted this. And God willing, you get to be 80 years old, but then you have to look back over an entire wasted this as well. And this isn't a special formula. This isn't some special truth. I'm sure you guys know this intuitively. That when you talk to people, you'll discover this. This is how you make the most of your life, because it's the only part of your life that's real. This might not happen. And even this, by the way, some of this didn't happen either. In other words, the way that you remember things, a lot of times our mind fills in details of memories that we don't actually have access to. we don't remember things accurately. They're false memories a lot of times. You thought you saw something you didn't. You thought you heard something that you didn't. So even this, it's on, again, this is only like a, I do it. Let's say that it's hard to do without a light. Let's say there's a light coming across there. I put my hand up in front of the light. What's on the wall behind me? The shadow. Is it my hand? No. It's a shadow of my hand. It's not the real thing. It's an approximation. It lets you know something was there, but it's not the thing itself. Think of your memories that way. Your memories are the shadows of the things themselves. This is the thing itself. The life that you live right now, and the memories that you have of them are the shadows of the things themselves. They're approximations. You can kind of put some things together based off of it. If that light shines and you don't see me, but you only see my shadow, you would know there was a person there. You might be able to guess about how tall the person is. You could probably say a few superficial characteristics about the person, but it isn't the person themselves. And if the person walks in and you compare the person to the shadow, you might say, I can see it, yeah, I can see it, but I don't know, you look different from what I thought you would look. Well, of course, because you're seeing the thing itself. You're seeing the real thing. You're not seeing the shadow. And so what that means is, again, this is what's real. So you maximize this. Again, not by tossing out all responsibility, not pretending like tomorrow doesn't come. That's the mistake that we make. But instead making the most of where you are. Because where else could you be? You could be any infinite number of places. You could be in the bathroom down the hall. You could be anywhere. It isn't about where you are. It's about where you are. Say that again. It's not about where you are. It's about where you, your psyche, is. And what you can make of this moment. Some people can make the absolute most of being on a roller coaster. Some people can be absolutely bored on a roller coaster. Some people can be absolutely bored and boring at a concert. Have you guys seen that video? I have it on my phone, I can show it to you. It's like a bunch of kids, they're at a concert and they're just like going nuts. And like jumping up and down, everyone's just, the stage is going nuts, and there's a kid in the front row just like this. And he's like up against, have you guys seen this? And he's just like up against the stage, he's like holding his arm, and he's just like he just realized some things. But everybody around him is going nuts. Some people can be like that at a concert. Some people can be hyped up and excited like that working at an auto parts shop. They can love what they do. Some people can do that just walking the dog. In other words, what's the most important moment of your life? Whichever one you make it important. It isn't that the minute itself is important. It's not that a roller coaster is important. It's not that walking your dog is important. What's important is the fact that you're there, doing something. And you make it important by giving it importance. If you treat every moment as though it doesn't matter, well then guess what? It doesn't matter. And then you pile up a whole bunch of these moments that don't matter, and you put all those together to make a life that didn't matter. And I'm not even sure how I would say this. I was going to say history is full of those people, but it's not. History is only full of the people who made the moments matter. And just because you don't end up in a history book doesn't mean that your life didn't matter. But man, forgetting the magical importance of every single moment, and I mean that, the importance, not just the significance, but the importance of every matter, of every moment. That's what makes it matter, a meaningful life. That's the hard part. And you only get to do it once. So what do you do? I don't know. I don't know that it even matters, unless you make it matter. Questions? Comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Wednesday.